So, full confession here, you know how everyone has something called a comfort show? It's defined as a television series that one watches to feel less terrible, and a movie that evokes many positive/lovely feelings in that one person. See, whereas most people have a show or a movie or some other third type of media that they find comfort in, I've never had that, even in the series I reviewed on this very channel. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the retrospectives I've made are on shows I found enjoyment in, but I could never admit that they gave me comfort. Excitement sure, but not comfort. That is until Amphibia came along.
You're a hero! An ugly, ugly, ugly hero!
Premiering in 2019, this very series was created by animator Matt Brawley, who's worked on notable shows such as Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, and the 2017 DuckTales. So as you could tell, he's no stranger to both Disney and the animation scene. Both his show as well as its sister show, The Owl House, have completely swept the world in what people like myself call Owlphibia, spawning fan art, cosplay, shipping, and I'd like to think that theory and review videos on the show have helped boost its popularity too, all because of the 3 stellar seasons it's pushed out over its run, a run that had me so hooked from the first episode. What about this show could be so great that I decided to make this video? Well, that's what we're here to find out, my fellow animation fans. Sit back and get comfy, because this is no big deal, the Amphibia Retrospective.
I'd like to return to the classics.
My name's Anne Boonchoy. Well, I'm Sasha Waybright. I'm Marcy Wu. I'm asking, can you help me see the world I love?
Before Amphibia became the show it is now, its origins lied in a little 1-minute pilot called Amphibiland. With just a look at it, there's a lot of elements from this very pilot that would end up being utilized in Amphibia as a series.
Hey, Sprig look ugly as hell in this version, bro.
You're right. Characters like Sprig, Anne, and Hop Pop are present, with Sprig being voiced by Thurb Van Orman, but no sign of Polly throughout, meaning she either was not considered to be in the show at the time or just wasn't in the full series yet. Designs would be a lot more streamlined for the series, with the frogs especially looking a lot more round and less unique in the pilot, and locations like Wartwood itself seem a lot less defined than what would come to be. If I had to take a guess, and take my opinion with a grain of salt, this version of Amphibia would have been more or less the same as the show we got. You know, monsters, bounty hunters, and toad warriors, but with more of a sense of exploring the new world our hero's been trapped in. I could be wrong here though. A little fun fact I want to point out is that most of this pilot is random scenes that show how the world was supposed to function, but if you pay really close attention, you can hear the instrumental to Clean Bandits Rather Be in the background, which I found was a neat little touch. Overall, the pilot is definitely rough around the edges in terms of story, but for what it is, it's still interesting to look back on and see what several aspects of the series were in their infancy, and that still deserves its appreciation, at least in my eyes.
Sprig and Anne. Anne and Sprig. Sprig against the world.
Just wait!
Season 1 of Amphibia is...
Hung him? I hardly know him. Just do it, please!
Is...
Of course I don't.
Is... interesting to say the least. Out of the 3, I can say that this was the part of the series I didn't necessarily look forward to going back and watching for this review. Not saying it's bad, but the other 2 seasons do offer a lot more with its story and episodes. Season 1's definitely the more comedy focused of Amphibia's run, with goofier facial expressions, more slice of life focused plots, and an overall less story-oriented tone, but I feel that gives it more charm than anything.
Why, sometimes it feels like we have at least 2 wacky adventures a week.
And simply a wonderful main character. At the start of the series, she's irresponsible, rowdy, impulsive, but it's kind of the point. The focus is on giving development to our main character Anne while she's situated in the crazy town of Wartwood, slow to accept and even slower to respect. So when you see her learn the error of her ways, it's not just thrown away the next episode, it means something. This is a main character with flaws for sure, but this season focuses in on them. Teamwork, responsibility, standing up for yourself. These are just the handful of topics that the season goes through, and I loved every minute of it. The rest of the main cast doesn't fall behind either. Sprig, Polly, and Hop Pop are also really endearing, bringing their fair share of quotable moments and character arcs that last throughout the season as well as the rest of the series. In fact, the whole show's like this. Different episodes that you think would just be one-offs or throwaways come back full circle in another season, which I found really clever. And yes, I know Amphibia isn't the first show to do this for sure, but it was the first show I've noticed had this type of storytelling. As mentioned before, the different events of the season mainly focus around the little town of Wardwood, a community housing a cavalcade of different and unique characters, all with their own personalities, designs, and traits. I found myself enjoying the appearances of characters like the traitorous Tritonio, the greedy Mare Toadstool, and the goofy woodcarver Loggle. They all add that sense of community and make Wardwood feel a lot more lived in and populated. Now here would be the part of the review where I talk about my favorite episode from the season, but it appears we have a first for this channel, fellow viewers, because for this show, not only do I have my favorites, but all of them are the finales of each season with no others topping them. So let's talk about this season's finale, Reunion.
Oh, it all falls down.
Honestly, if there was ever a thrilling conclusion to Amphibia's first season, this was not what I was expecting. Throughout the season, we watch Anne slowly become respected by the rest of Wardwood and grow as a character, and the reunion is a perfect conclusion to Anne's arc as the new girl in Wardwood, with the introduction of Sasha Waybright, one of Anne's friends who also got trapped with her in Amphibia. Now, if you've never watched the series, Sasha never showed up much during season 1. A few moments here and there, but she wasn't majorly focused on. Reunion gives us a little insight into her relationship with Anne, almost being a very manipulative and controlling one. It also presents us a reason as to why Anne was the way she was at the beginning of the series, with the icing on top being where Anne finally stands up to Sasha when her newfound family is threatened.
What are you doing?
Something I should have done a long time ago. Standing up to you!
There's so much to love about this episode, honestly. The action's fast-paced, energetic, and lively. There's a sense of danger here that the rest of the season never really had, and the ending of it is simply just amazing and must be seen to be believed, ending off season 1 on not a happy note, but an optimistic one.
New season, new possibilities.
With how much of a spectacle the first season's finale was, the second season has no other goal than to take it to new heights. And I'm happy to say that it doesn't disappoint. Character turns, new directions for the story to go, a road trip arc, world building, and so much more. To put it simply, there's more going on under the hood here than the previous season. With the next 2 seasons having so much to offer in terms of content, having both an A and B section, I felt it was better to cover both parts of this season individually instead of entirely like I did with the first season. So, let's get to it. As mentioned before, Season 2A focuses more on the Planter family going on a big road trip. With the icy paths that block Wardwood cleared, Anne and the Planters make their way through the valley to Newtopia to learn more about the music box, and find a way for Anne to go home. Similar to Kid Cosmic, this part of the second season puts a heavy emphasis on world building. We see a truckload of friends, foes, and locations that help give Amphibia a more vibrant feel. Traveling theater bandits, classy marble cities like Riverton, a mountain pass that helps arguing travelers get along, and... there's even an episode where they have characters from Gravity Falls. Look, his name's the Curator, but he's dressed the same as Grunkle Stan from the show. I'm sure that people didn't milk this episode to hell and back when it came out. And when they get to Newtopia, it's like a completely different area compared to Wardwood. More varied locations, interesting characters, and even charming stories that left me with an ear-to-ear smile while watching. Episodes from this part of the season act as more of the calm before the storm of events, as mentioned before, hitting close to Season 1's vibe. And then we have Marcy Wu. Marcy's pretty much the polar opposite of Sasha when we first see her. Energetic, gets hyper-focused too easily, and honestly was a really nice addition to the cast whenever she was in episodes. She may or may not also have hidden motives, but shush, we'll get to that later.
I have a proposition for you, Marcy, and I think you'll find it very interesting.
But anyways, Season 2A is a great half of the season that really feels like the series is starting to get its footing. It has more of a focus this time around, but isn't afraid to also have wacky plots and characters like in Season 1. But the biggest highlight of Season 2 as a whole has got to be Season 2B. Don't get me wrong, I adore Season 2A, but when you think about what cemented Amphibia in the animation zeitgeist, I think you'll find it difficult to find a person not to say an episode from Season 2B. It feels like every cog in the machine went full force for this part of the series, with the perfect balance of plot and comedy-focused episodes. For starters, this part of the season seems to have more of an end goal fully in sight, with the gang having to recharge the stones of the music box in order to get home, visiting each of the 3 temples in the process. Of course, all with a healthy balance of Wardwood episodes as well. Honestly, the adventure side of Amphibia as a whole is pretty sweet. When you think about it, their challenges are entertaining for the audience, yes, but they also help give our trio of main characters a chance to do some introspection. The temples attempt to teach them lessons, or in the case of Sasha, a chance to see that the choices she makes in Amphibia neither make her happy nor get her friends to respect her again, which I believe is genius. But Season 2B has a main event like no other, and that's its finale, an episode of such big spectacle, scale, and feeling, so much so that it's the only episode of the series to ever have a viewer discretion screen. Let's talk about True Colors. Yep, The very episode that got randomly delayed and then leaked to iTunes of all places is my favorite episode of Season 2. True Colors was the moment Amphibia formed the fan base it has today. The episode that has a feeling of such intensity. It's the result of tensions rising between our three main characters, chocked full of action, stakes, and our main cast essentially being Amphibia's last fighting chance. And of course, I can't talk about this episode of the season without mentioning this.
I just need to...
This very scene was why there was a viewer advisory warning. I don't think there was ever a moment like this in a Disney cartoon. You know, the company that'll take down good shows because they don't fit their brand. After that, we're left with a cliffhanger ending, and no clue where to head from here on out. Just a mystery for the third season to conclude. Over the last 2 seasons, we've seen tensions rise, trusts be tested, friendships become broken, and to top it all off, True Colors had us on our seats hoping, no, begging for more. And I'm happy to report that Season 3 came in doing what it needed to do and then some. First up, let's get started with Season 3A. After the events of True Colors, our heroes get sent to the human world and are stuck there for the time being, while Amphibia suffers from the tyranny of Andreas. However, even in the human realm, there are threats to our main characters. Government spies, crazy scientists, and even robots coming from Amphibia to destroy them all. The action never stops, with each episode exploring more of the world Anne was away from and still giving her development during her short time there. They even have a Christmas special. Side note, but do networks even let shows have holiday specials anymore? The last good example I could find was The Ghost in Molly McGee, but apart from that, I got nothing. Seriously, let me know. But anyways, this part of the season's fantastic. After her time in Amphibia, it offers a breath of fresh air seeing what she was missing during her time away. We even get some insight into Anne's new glowing blue powers, and get introduced to new charming side characters like Terry, Dr. Jan. Even RuPaul plays the oh-so-fun Mr. X in this season, and I had no idea who he was before this.
They may have gotten away, but not before I tagged them!
Out of everything that this part of the season has, one of its biggest factors is of course its new villain, aka Darcy. Up until this point, Amphibia provided us with a villain who's as charming as he is threatening, that being Andreas. But I don't know, the third season kinda had him more or less in the backseat in terms of villains, and for a bit, no one was there to take the wheel apart from a few minor threats. This is where Darcy comes in. A collection of Amphibia's greatest minds contained within the body of one of Anne's best friends. She brings a heaping helping of true, unfeeling villainy, able to both mess with our heroes mentally and physically, making her a worthy foe to end the series with. To be honest, there's a really comfy feeling in Season 3A. Even with the exciting action, upon my second rewatch, I found more enjoyability in the fun community bits where Anne was interacting with the characters she meets throughout the season. And it's here where that balance I mentioned back in Season 2A was hit again. But we still have another part of the season to get to. There's so much to love about Season 3B. After the events of Earth, a whole different world, we see the entirety of Amphibia vastly different from Season 2. Robots run rampant, communities fall everywhere, and the lovable town of Wordwood and its townsfolk were forced to change with the world itself. Much like Season 3A, this was a much needed change of pace. Trust me, when you see half of the last 2 seasons be townsfolk episodes, as much as you love to see it, you would want to see something different from your third and final season. What I majorly appreciate with Season 3B is, like mentioned before, its uniqueness in style in comparison with the last 2 seasons. Like there's judge robots, Robin Hood type newts, even a whole town full of brainwashed frogs that do nothing but garden. It takes complete advantage of the Wordwood we knew essentially being flipped on its head. This season also gives us a good look into how much our main characters have changed throughout their journeys in Amphibia, at least for both Anne and Sasha. Anne being in Wordwood has learned the values of responsibility, leadership, and standing up for yourself, and Sasha learning her lessons of strength, teamwork, and understanding herself. They become better people for it, with Anne showing her responsibility with her taking care of the planters in their short time on Earth, and Sasha utilizing it by leading the rebellion against Andreas. This is the first time I've seen the changes within a story-driven series affect our main characters not only on the outside, but on the inside as well. Again, I know other shows have done so before, don't get me wrong, but Amphibia is really what opened my eyes to it. But every season has its favorite episode from me, and for Season 3, that would be the hardest thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you one of the greatest season finales of recent memory that have managed to touch the hearts of the people watching it. The Hardest Thing is a result of 3 seasons worth of build-up, execution, and character development, focusing on a Calamity trio having to stop the final ace that the Corps has up its sleeve. It's filled with quick-paced action, gorgeous animation, and an ending that is honestly heartbreaking watching it again. It also may have one of the greatest callbacks I've ever seen.
What are you doing? Something I should have done a long time ago. Standing up to you!
You really get the feeling that this is truly the last moment we'll ever see these characters together. It's all simply beautiful. Now, Amphibia has always been a show full of powerful season finales, from Reunion to True Colors, and The Hardest Thing is no exception. Everything from the Calamity Trio fighting with their powers, to Anne's sacrifice, to seeing how Wardwood and the trio are 10 years after the events of the series, it all comes together to make a finale worthy of a show such as this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I came across Amphibia at a time where I was stressed out beyond belief. With everything happening around that time, I was looking for anything to calm my mind. Then came that one fateful day. I put on the show, and it gave me the feeling that everything was going to be just fine. This show in particular means so much to me, because never before has a piece of media calmed my mind like that. It was not a good time last year, and so, in a way, that show brought me back to reality. And that's something I can't really say for other series. I feel like everyone needs that. The world can become a very stressful place, and shows like this offer an anchor, a reminder that no matter what happens, you'll bounce back safe and sound. That's what Amphibia is for me, and I hope you watching this can find yours. You never know when it can help.
You got a name, stranger?
My name's Anne. Anne Boonchoy.
She was my bank of insecurities. I was a bag of immaturity.
You're not a beast at all. You're a hero. An ugly, ugly, ugly hero.
Call me ugly again and maybe I will eat you.
But they became the barrier, skewing me from the path that I chose willingly.
Oh yeah? Well, I'm Sasha Waybright, captain of the cheerleaders, top scorer in Super Dance Fusion, and first lieutenant to Captain Grime.
And I'm Captain Grime, drinker of bog grog, grower of beards, and watcher of Suspicion Island.
My money, he thinks I've used him for it. That's what he told my mommy.
Ah, isn't this place wild? What an adventure! Oh man, I've really grown out here, Anne. Coming to my own, leveled up. No more clumsy, klutzy Marcy. Can you believe it?
Adderall, smoking dope, the grass is tall. Weaponize illusion till the truth is hard to recognize. Spinning it out of control, beholden to this web of lies.
Are you telling me I'm stuck in this crazy place for 2 months? Where am I gonna stay?
Pack the pockets, pack the boulder, back to practicing the road. And passion acting like it's ratchet, that's a tad irrational, but that's the goal. In fact, it's half the actual battle. Get up, rattle off a billion little adult thoughts till it's over. Make a spot to wind down.
No one's perfect. My time in Amphibia taught me that we're all changing and improving and learning as we go. Every time I hit an obstacle, I found a way to overcome it. When I thought Sasha and Marcy would be stuck in their old ways, they proved me wrong and our friendship got stronger. And Wardwood, the oldest fashioned, least accepting place, ended up accepting me as one of their own.
That's all I got to say.